Well, New York is fucked.
Mamdani.
Socialism or communism.
It's going to be a disaster.
Welcome to Russia.
Socialist communist takeover.
Communist.
Socialism and the Marxist. Socialist agenda.
Socialism.
Communist extremist socialist Mamdani.
Zohran Mamdani and
Mamdani will ruin New York.
Imagine how disappointed I am. This is a horrible blow.
I honestly feel bad. I have friends of mine in New York. My phone is blowing up. They are officially depressed and scared.
And this was also a hostile takeover by the Democratic Socialists of America.
And this is a crazy situation. It's a very, very sad night.
I honestly feel bad. I have friends of mine in New York. My phone is blowing up. They are officially depressed and scared. If you would have told me 24 years after 9/11 that somebody that was that radicalized would win this dramatically, I wouldn't have believed it.
The top 1% in New York City contributes around half of the personal income taxes, and they just elected someone who is openly hostile towards that 1%, basically ran a whole campaign on being hostile towards that 1%. So all of these super far left-wingers that vastly overestimate their contribution to New York City, they think they carry the city on their shoulders, they're going to find out what that city looks like when you scare away that top 1%.
He killed it, and he told Donald Trump.
So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
Turn up the volume. And Donald's like, my volume's up. It's up. I'm listening to you. Zohran Mamdani, I love you. That's okay. So I knew you were going to win. I was just testing you.
So Mamdani was just elected as the mayor of New York, and MAGA talk is freaking the fuck out. Take a look. I stand on the fact that MAGA voters and progressive Democrats want the same thing. They want an affordable place to live. They want to be able to afford food. They want opportunity. They want to be able to afford health care. And they want a brighter future for their children. The difference is MAGA Republicans punch down. They blame the majority of America's problems on the people with the least amount of money and power. And those are immigrants, people on food stamps, poor people, disabled people, you name it. Progressive Democrats, they punch up. They blame a majority of America's problems on the people with the most amount of money and power. But it is time to see if a blend of democratic socialism with capitalism can create a better society for all of us.
MAGA is freaking out after Zohran Mamdani just won mayor of New York. This guy ran on an apologetic progressive platform, promising rent freezes, free buses, universal health care, and yes, taxing the wealthy more to pay for all of that. This guy campaigned like someone who really wants to change the balance of power in the city of New York, and a lot of voters actually gave him the key. And I'll tell you right now, what's upsetting MAGA is because this is historic. It's massive because this guy is actually the first Muslim and South Asian, mayor of New York. And that's a huge demographic and symbolic shift. And that shift is exactly what has the right-wing universe in a performative meltdown. They are coming online, calling him name, calling him socialist, calling him, a lot of things, and, questioning because he's a Muslim immigrant who's gonna be the leader of, the most powerful city in the whole world. But subscribe to the channel if you're new, hit that like button, leave me a comment down below, of your opinion about the video. Let's take a look.
It is becoming blaringly obvious that there is a large population of people who voted for Mamdani who don't actually understand socialism, and you can see it based off of their reaction to the fact that there may potentially be a mass exodus of wealthy people. Now, why would that be counterproductive to socialism? If you don't understand, right? Because if you understand socialism, you understand why that would be a problem. But for some of you, I think you're going to need a history lesson on how socialism works. And I think a lot of you just voted for Mamdani because you heard the word free and just wanted to get on board with what he was saying. Now, the reason why it's counterproductive for you to support the fact that millionaires and billionaires are going to leave New York is because socialism works through taxation of the wealthy as a way to institute, government-assisted programs, welfare programs, and redistribute the wealth, okay? That's how socialism works. Now, if the wealthy leave, who are you going to be taxing? You're going to have to tax the middle class and the upper middle class. And these people are hardly surviving already, okay? Because we're wiping out the middle class, essentially. Socialism pretty much wipes out the middle class. Communism wipes out the middle class. And if you want to know something else, socialism is the first stage of communism. And I bet you guys didn't know that, because it is blaringly obvious that you don't know how socialism works. Because if you did know how socialism works, you wouldn't be under the comments of all of these news reports saying that there might be a mass exodus of wealthy people, and supporting that there's going to be a mass exodus of wealthy people, and saying, yeah, all the rich people should get out of New York. We don't want them here anyways. That is counterproductive to what you are advocating for.
The only time these conservative activists will acknowledge the wealth inequality within these spaces is when they want to weaponize it to attack another person that is actively putting policy to redistribute that inequality to those that actually needs it. And their talking point is always centered around the 1% creating all these opportunities for everyone else, whilst ignoring the housing unaffordability, the inequality within these, cities, and also the system being stretched to its limit because of the strain. All at the same time, they ignore the contribution of average, Americans within these cities. Because a city that prioritizes investment over its people is not something to be proud of. The fact that Zohran Mamdani redistributed that attention to ordinary Americans and say, hey, this is not a city for only billionaires, it makes some of you uncomfortable, says exactly what we need to know about the conservative talking points. It's always been centered around fee and no actual logic behind it.
Alright guys, the headline from the far right is that this guy is actually a socialist. They're saying that if he goes on and taxes the wealthy will actually hold a mass exodus. And let's look at what actually is being said right here, because the big story is that millionaires have actually expressed their concern, and they say that they're gonna leave if Mamdani actually wins. These are real people on TV dramatically saying that I'm out. Financial advisors are getting calls, tabloid pieces are having a blast. And the message is raise the taxes and New York's rich people will actually run for the exit, taking jobs and revenue with them. I mean, as you might actually be, a person on the left, this is actually concerning because, these are the people you expect to actually tax so that you can fund your universal healthcare, your free buses and all that sort, But if they actually leave, who are you going to tax? It's gonna fall down to the middle class who are already actually struggling. But let me know in the comments. This is actually something to think about.
All night, all I have seen is posts like this. New York, after 25 years, how could you guys vote someone in to be the mayor of New York City who's a Muslim after Muslims did this? You know who did this? It wasn't no Muslims, bro. It was white Republican men. That's who did this. You know what else white Republican men did? Every damn recession we had in the past 40 years in this country, white Republican men did that. You know what else white Republican men did? Hurricane Katrina, the war on Iraq, Desert Storm, the war on drugs, stop and frisk. White Republican men did all of that, all of it. And you want us to worry about a Muslim man? My enemy ain't no Muslim man. The enemy in this country is a white Republican man. That is enemy number one in the United States of America. It is a white Republican man who's walking around here playing dictator, thinking he the mustache man, thinking he runs. Oh, if New York City votes in Mamdani, we're going to cut federal funding to New York City. You kidding me? The greatest city in the world don't need your help. What are we talking about? It was white T men who put them pew-pews in the hands of Al-Qaeda back in them days. It was white America who literally taught those people who flew those planes into them buildings how to fly them planes in the first place. Or did we forget? George Bush daddy has something to do with the World Trade Center booming in 1993. And you find it coincidental that his son was president when the planes crashed into them buildings and the buildings fell? And we blaming Muslims? Y'all the one that was sitting there bothering them, booming their families, unaliving their people, and you think they wasn't gonna get their get back? And on top of that, you idiotic selves taught them how to do so. 25 years later, you want to blame one Muslim man who's trying to make a difference, who's trying to help people because of y'all past mistakes. The gaslighting is crazy, bro.
New York is fucked. You guys, New York is straight up fucked right now. This is the guy you elected to be your mayor. A Muslim. An anti-American Muslim who's going to literally strip New York down to a third world country.
I'm here in New York about to illegally vote for Zohran Mamdani 6 times. 6? Yeah.
What?
6.
You know what scares me? Is the fact that we are allowing people like this to vote at all. Right? Why are we not demanding and putting in laws that actually say you have to take a political IQ and aptitude test in order to vote in any major political election? Why are we not demanding that in order to be elected into any major office, you have to be an actual U.S. citizen, born and raised here? You think Mamdani's going to do anything for New York? You think he's actually telling you that he's truly an American and that he's going to do the best thing for the people of New York? Oh God, oh God, oh God. You guys are, oh God.
In Islam, in the verses, you are allowed to lie, you are allowed to deceive in front of God as long as it advances the aims and goals of Islam. Foreign concept to those of us as Christians. Because what is the ultimate value claim of Christianity? It is truth. Because in Islam, in the verses, you are allowed to lie, you are allowed to deceive in front of God as long as it advances the aims and goals of Islam.
You think Mamdani wants to actually continue the American way with the Constitution? No, he's lying his ass off to get into office to push his Muslim agenda. For those of you who have no idea what socialism is, communism, you're about to fucking find out.
Alright guys, there you have it actually. This is crazy, man. A lot of people are for this guy and a lot of powerful people are actually not for this guy because of his planned policy changes. And for the middle class and the low income families, the people who are actually struggling, this guy is a champion. He is a revolutionist. I mean, did you actually hear that speech? That was actually powerful. But now, why is this story about the rich actually fleeing a good politically useful story? Having the rich flee narrative is actually a political weapon. It scares moderate voters and donors and gets coverage and creates leverage to block policy. If you can actually convince everyone that the city will collapse under new taxes, you make the reforms politically impossible. Even if it's not empirically true, the risk can actually be potent because policymakers fear capital flight and job losses. So you get this feedback loop because care goes on to coverage, goes on to donors panicking, it goes on to pressure on elected officials like Zohran Mamdani, and that builds up to actually policy being watered down. And this is serious because that shows you that the super rich and the super wealthy always have a way to actually get away with having their wealth distributed to the society. But let me know in the comments, what do you think about today's episode? Leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel, don't forget to hit that like button, and as always, see you in the next episode.